Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
People have been like lying and stealing money from people via quote unquote exchanges forever because what's separating an exchange from a bucket shop? Like, what's the difference? It's the same thing.
Haven't like a lot of prominent crypto whales died recently?
That has been very interesting.
Who's that? I actually don't know this. Who?
I don't know. I just saw some speculation about like there seems to be a number of deaths in this.
There was
sphere
one guy who said like, "If I die, I was murdered," and then he died 2 days later.
That actually, when people say that, that's just like they were going to kill themselves in one.
Yeah, they wanted to be fun.
John
McAfee.
John McAfee ruined that for me because John McAfee is like he's just so annoying. The TrueAnon episode on him is very good, but he like wanted people to think that he was like a bad spy turned good. But there is a thread of a lot of crypto whales who have died in mysterious ways recently. That is not bullshit.
Not surprising. Did you see the story about the guy? I think this is Georgia. So his house gets robbed and he loses his like cold wallet that has his Bitcoin. And so he tells the cops, he's like, this dude and it was a lot of Bitcoin. And the cops are like, you have how much Bitcoin, sir? And you haven't paid taxes on that? And the guy incriminates himself in, all of this stuff that, whatever, man. It's also, I feel for the people who, they were lied. I mean, and in their defense, they were lied to by the most famous people money can buy.
Yeah.
Right? Like celebrities, athletes, musicians, like all these people took money. Marketing companies with $100 million budgets and stuff.
I mean, everyone regarded the FTX commercial with Larry David as like the best Super Bowl ad of this most previous the most recent Super Bowl, and you got Larry David, Tom Brady, Steph Curry. I mean, run that Matt Damon, like athletes, celebrities. I mean, they were there to get like that last squeeze of the lemon, like the last group of investors who were yet to be rooked, which is just the average person. And I gotta say, the dishonor roll on this is deep, but there's one man who must be credited with honor, and that is Shaquille O'Neal, a man who will do literally any commercial for anything. He was offered one of these.
He did a porn with the general.
No, and apparently Shaq did not do the crypto thing because he said, I don't want to advertise anything that like the average person can't afford. So say we will about Subway sandwich shill an auto general shill Shaquille O'Neal. He saw through this crypto shit probably because he was like, I don't understand it. What am I selling? What am I actually selling here? And like that is the question when you watch all these ads, Ben. Is it's just like it is no different than the ads for FanDuel or Caesars Sportsbook. It is entreating you, the average sucker who like believes that they have the same information as everyone else, or like the big boys, the whales do, to just buy into the system and gamble.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, the parallels are like, I mean, they're dead on, right? Like in 2018, we, the Supreme Court overturned, I forget what the case was, but basically made gambling up to the states. The states could do whatever online gambling they wanted to do. And that's why you're seeing like online gambling has gone everywhere, right? And it's really bad. I mean, I'm actually writing about that right now as I sort of finish off the book. Is like, I've actually in the past I was more like, well, it's gambling and like how bad can it be? And sure, there's addiction, but that's not the majority. And if you know the odds, if you're gambling in a legal casino, which is not crypto, which is to its discredit, then it's not that bad. But the truth is, it's really bad. I mean, we've been talking to some gambling addiction experts. Gambling has by far the highest rate of suicide, way higher than other addictions. It hits men really hard. They lie about it. They hide it from their families. It creates, generational problems, right? I mean, it can destroy entire families because dad was secretly gambling, or his son, right? I mean, it's really, really bad. And at a minimum, you need rules and regulations. But honestly, just fucking stop the advertising. Like, just eliminate the advertising. I mean, there's an article today in Bloomberg about how it's going in the UK, which has much, a really big gambling culture. But it's gotten so bad there that the government might actually do something about it because it's just, it contributes to all this bad stuff.
Well, especially at a time of like high cost of living and like a real economic crunch on a lot of people out of work. Their paycheck doesn't go as long as it used to, doesn't go as far as it used to. And then you see ads everywhere to just be like, hey, like who wouldn't want to turn $100 into $1,000?
That's right. It's casino capitalism, right? It's like take people who are already desperate and take advantage of them. And like, maybe you too can whatever, hit the 16 parlay or whatever. It's the same thing. It's just even worse with crypto because there's not even, at least with Vegas, there's an odds book, right? And like, you're not a 50% to win, but like it's there and they pay you usually, right?
And at least if I take the Cowboys over the Giants on Thanksgiving, the game is played and a victor and a loser is established at the end of the game. Everyone can see it. The information is there. And speaking of rooking desperate suckers, I want to talk about effective altruism. And how familiar are you with effective altruism? And how did this become the perfect court philosophy / excuse for Sam Bankman-Fried and the world of Bay Area techno-rationalist crypto gamblers?
Oh, it's like the best philosophy ever for those folks. So it's super simple. Make as much money as you can. That's number one. And then number two, give it away. Now, guess which one Silicon Valley's good at? Right? So like, it's basically an excuse to make as much money as you possibly can by whatever means necessary. And then theoretically down the line, eventually you're going to give it away because you know best, because you're going to be effective, because you're so smart, because you made all this money. But don't worry, you don't have to do that right now, just like some point in the future. But what it did for Sam was it gave him a way of justifying whatever the hell he wanted to do, right? I mean, all of it was justified because he was going to give it all away, you see. It's so hollow. It's so gross. I mean, I think utilitarianism itself is like a pretty flawed philosophy. I think it's like an interesting idea that has difficult to apply in the real world. But like effective altruism is I just think it's nonsense personally. I think it's just absolute nonsense. And I'm deeply suspicious of people that promote it, even people that seem well-intentioned.
Well, I mean, in many of his interviews, it seems like he was using when I want to ask him about where's all this money going or what are you even doing? It would always be talked about in terms of the mosquito nets that I'm going to buy for kids in Africa, or the dealing with the problem, long-termist problems of pandemic preparation or things like that. Is there any indication that he gave away any of this money except to regulators at the FCC?
One of the most awkward moments of our interview, which I have on camera, so this will be in a documentary at some point, is that he's going on and on about this stuff. And I'm like, okay, how much money have you given to that stuff, to the pandemic preparedness and the mosquito nets, whatever, the really, really good stuff. And how much have you given to the politicians? And he froze. He just could not, he refused to answer the question. He basically said he threw out some big number, 50 to 100 million that he'd given to all these good causes. And then when asked about politics, he literally wouldn't tell me, even though that information's public, open secrets. I knew that he, and so what I think in retrospect was he didn't want to tell me because it would have involved the dark money, and he didn't want to lie to me. It was the weirdest moment, man. It's so strange, right? And the other thing that just drives me nuts about effective ultras is stop talking about giving away the money and just give it away. Well, stop telling us how good you are and just do it.
I mean, it's that's not the point. I mean, it's the same thing as the giving pledge.